Hi guys, and welcome to the third and final part of this tutorial series that are related to how to create a calculator. So basically this video is going to be the walkthrough of the whole code that we wrote in just two videos, and it's gonna be this and this including. So if there was something that you didn't quite understand, now in this video hopefully I'm gonna try to help you. Alright? Okay, so first we start here, right? So oh, by the way, and I also commented actually every single method and every single condition that there is, just so it's clear. So here, as I said, we create an instance of input handler called input handler. So our input handler, which is this part here, is our class, right? This is our instance class. And we are creating an instance that's going to be called input handler with lowercase I, and we just say new input handler, which basically means create that new instance of that class. And here we say input.handler.start, and start is here. Alright, so now let's jump to this code here. So this method here that's called start basically starts the program, right? It just says welcome to my calculator, and while keep on true, just keep calculating. Now what do I mean by keep on true? Well, keep on true means it's only false, right? It's only false if the user has exited our program. So until the user hasn't exited our program, right, then just keep that to true and keep calculating. And our calculate function is this one, but I'm gonna come back to it in a minute. Now I'm going to cover all of the other functions before that. So the other method will be choose operator. Now choose operator functions that asks the user for an operation and returns the result, right? This is my comment here. And then what do I say? Then I say what to do, and I basically print a message that asks the user, right, for the operation that he desires. And then I get the input, store it in operator variable that's called operator variable, and then we just return it. And why do we return it? Well, as we saw in the last video, basically we are returning that so we can assign the result to a variable that is going to be later is going to be used as something, right? So basically we can do operations on this function when we call it. Alright, so the next method gets the first number and returns the result. So let me just run the program and we go step by step while you can see what it actually does, right? So it's gonna take some time to compile. Okay, it usually compiles faster, but I don't know why it's taking so long. But anyway, so yeah, basically it gets the first number, prints this message, and then whatever the user has given us, just return it and store it in the user input basically. Now it basically means user input.next double, and user input is this variable here that's saying your user input new scanner system in, and system in basically says just use the keyboard. Alright. Alright, so then we just basically have almost the same exact function, but it just gets the second rather than the first number. So remember, we are doing 1 plus 2. So 1 here is going to be get first number, and 2 here is going to be get second number. So we have these two numbers that we're going to later do manipulations with, or should I say operations. And then the next four methods here are basically the operations and adding them to our vector that contains all history, right? So what do I mean by that? Well, here is our first function method that is going to be called addition, that takes two parameters that are type of table, and it basically adds the element as the result of these two variables to calculations. Now calculations is our vector that we created the last video before this. And alright, so here we're saying create a vector that's going to be taking table as data type, name it calculations, and just create an instance of that class. It's basically what this line of code does is. And then the others are just the same as the addition, but just doing other operations. Alright, then this whole method here just basically says please press the corresponding number of the operation you wish to perform. So basically it asks for an option after an operation has been completed and checks what the user has chosen, and depending upon what the user has chosen, invoke the corresponding method. Now the corresponding methods should be, okay, by corresponding method I mean calculate, load history, and exit message, right? Okay, for some reason it's not running, but I'm gonna sort this out. Alright, so then we say if the user has chosen another operation, basically one is what it stands for because it's here, right? If the user has chosen another operation, then go to calculate and make z to 1, which basically means stop asking the user for another input, right? Then 2 would be load the history, which is do you want to load the history? If he wants to load the history, then we're just invoking that method here. And then we're saying if the option equals to 3, and 3 is do you want to exit the program? If he wants to, then we're setting keep on to false, and when we go back here, keep on will not run anymore. So basically our whole program stops. See? And then our load history method is basically printing all the history that we have gotten so far. So here are the calculations that you have done so far. Loops through the calculations. Calculations.size basically gets the size of the vector, and then calculations.getI basically means calculate each element of the calculations vector. Then the next method would be just a simple print message that is going to print the calculation so far, and it's just gonna print a nice thank you message, which basically means thank you for using our program, hope you enjoy the experience. Now the last method that I'm gonna show you is the calculate. So here, if the user has indeed chosen to perform another operation, this method is invoked. Now what is it? Well, basically it keeps on looping until the user has chosen a valid operation. So if he put gibberish, for example, it wouldn't take it as an input and it would rerun again until we get the valid input. And then, for example, if the operation equals plus, which plus means addition, then just get the first number, get the second number, store them in these variable names. And how can we store it? Well, see, in the get first and get second number, remember we are returning the variables, so they come and being passed to these variables. We get the results of it. Then we go back to addition, and this takes num1 and num2, and num1 and num2 are the numbers that the user has chosen, right? So we come back here. It gets these two parameters, which are the numbers, stores them in the calculations, and prints the result. Alright, and basically these others are the same as this. It's basically just for other operations. And here x equals to 1 means stop looping this, right? And then what we're doing is, because if we just do x is equal to 1, then that means that our program will stop. So then we're saying if x is equal to 1, then and only then show menu. And show menu is this here, which keeps asking the user what he wants to do. So this prevents our program from stopping at all. Alright, now let me show you the program again, in case you've forgotten it. Now let's run it. I hope this one runs. Yep, it runs. Alright. There must be a syntax error or something in the other code, so I'm gonna include that in my GitHub profile. Alright, so what do we want to do? Well, I want to add two numbers. The first number is gonna be 4, and the second is going to be 3. So the number is 7, see this cool message here, and it's coming from here. Well, alright, so let's go through it. I chose this, so it gets the first, gets the second number, and then I'm invoking this function that's passing these two numbers. And we go here and says system out print line the num is, and here it is, the num is. So before that line here, we're just adding that result, this thing here, to our calculations vector, which basically stores the history. So now when we say history, we are going to take and see 7 there because it has been added to it. And now if I want to do another operation here and say multiplication for 3, we got 12, and then I say 2, which gives me the history, I see 12 as well. And here is our show menu, I believe, our method. Yeah, show menu. So here, as you can see, please press the corresponding number. It's this here. Then I chose 1 here, right? I choose 1, and it goes to calculate, which is this whole function here. And yeah, so if I type gibberish, it will just keep on asking me again, and that is because I have a loop here that keeps on asking for valid input. And then when I say exit, oops, sorry, yeah. So let's, if I say 3, thank you for using our program. It's here, and it basically says stop the loop, stop the current loop, make the keep on false so we don't keep on calculating, and print the exit message. Alright, so now that you have seen how I've done it, guys, you can modify it so it meets your preferences. For example, maybe this doesn't look okay for you, maybe it's the design of the program is not alright for you. Well, you could change that, and for example, instead of just taking input as asterisk or plus, you could just take words like addition or multiplication, whatever you prefer. So yeah, that would be good practice for you to modify the program, I think. So yeah, I think you should do it. And again, guys, this whole code here is going to be linked down in the description, and remember, it's fully documented. Again, if for some reason you didn't understand something from this code, from the videos themselves, you can just look at the documentation. I'm sure you're gonna get everything right if you read it, if you still haven't gotten something not right. Alright, so thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this series, and I'm sure I'm gonna be making more and some different in the near future. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. See you on the next video.